Hello, welcome to Unit 4 of your Business English course. I'm your Business English trainer. I'm Tim. How have you been? Are you excited about the next unit? Well, in the last unit, we talked about change, the different ways in which companies can prepare for change, and how change affects companies and employees. We talked about the different ways that the employees can be affected by change. And in the grammar section, we talked about the past simple and the present perfect. Do you remember the differences between these two tenses? Do you remember what they are used for? Well, not to worry, you can always have a quick recap. The past simple is used for referring to activities that have happened at specific times in the past, while the present simple, the present perfect rather, is used for speaking about events that begin or began at some time in the past and have continued into the present. Got it? Perfect. So today, in this lesson, we're going to talk about organization. Are you ready? Let's go. How is your company organized? Do you have a headquarters where the most important decisions are made? Or is your branch autonomous or semi-autonomous? Today we'll learn to talk about how companies are organized. Let's begin, shall we? Organization. Modern organizations have to be built on making conflict constructive. Peter Drucker, Australian-born US management consultant, says so. How does your company handle conflict? How do you handle conflict? How does your brand handle conflict? Of course, we have the grammar segment for today, but just before we begin looking at exercises in grammar, we'll begin with some listening comprehension tasks. Are you ready to listen and learn about organization? Let's go.
How do you analyze a company's organization?
Well, we take a fairly broad view of organization. We start with the formal structure of lines and boxes, who reports to who, what their official responsibilities are. But it's very important to go beyond that and think first about their decision rights. What does a position actually have the authority to decide? Who do they need to consult? Who do they need to keep informed? Who do they need to have approvals? The third area is information flows. If you want to understand how a company works, you need to know who knows what. So we look at communications, information, the sort of data that is provided and who gets it. And then the final area is the rewards, the performance management. Not just who gets bonuses and what they're based on, but how do you get promoted and how do people get rewarded in all the other ways that provide incentives in an organization. We put all those four things together, the formal organization, the decision rights, the information flows, and the incentives, and we call that the organizational DNA. So we put a lot of emphasis on understanding that.
Okay. Now, what's your company's organizational DNA? What's the formal organization like? What's the corporate ladder like in your company? Who is the highest of officials in your company? Who comes next? And after that? Where are you on your company's corporate ladder, so to say? Who makes the decisions in your company? Who decides what? Who talks to who? Do you speak directly to your managers, or do you have a supervisor? Are you a supervisor or a manager? Or are you the CEO? How do people get rewarded? How long does it take for employees to receive a raise, a promotion, etc.? All of these make up your company's organizational DNA and the very essence of how your company is led and run.
If you want to start an analysis, we have a survey tool. It's on a website, orgdna.com, where you can answer just a small number of questions about your organization. And then we compare that to answers from about 40,000 other executives. And we can recognize patterns. And that helps us to say that your organization is like these other organizations. And so we can get some learning from comparable organizations. And we call that the OrgDNA profiler. It gives you a superficial view, and it's a good place to start the conversation. But then we have to go much deeper. And we usually organize both workshops with the executives and probes into particular aspects that seem to be particularly interesting. So, for example, we might take a single major controversial decision and look at how that was actually made. And really, you often find that the reality is quite different from the theory.
Can you give us an example?
Okay, that's enough listening for now. Now we're going to go into the grammar or language review. Are you ready? Let's go. First, we've got organization, noun combinations. Noun combinations. Choose the word which cannot form a word partnership with the noun. In other words, collocations. Collocations are words that are typically used together to make reasonable sense. These are word combinations that everyone understands and uses together. So here the task is to choose the word which cannot form a word partnership or cannot form a collocation with the noun. Number one, company what? Now, which of these does not make sense to be used next to the word company? Do you say company logo, company union, or company headquarters? Which of these cannot form a word partnership with the noun company? In other words, you have to identify the words that actually can form a combination and decide which one cannot go or does not go well with the word company. Is it logo, union, or headquarters? What do you think? Number two, management style, management policy, or management goods? Which of these does not sound okay or normal? Which of these isn't regularly used? Management style, management policy, or management goods? What do you think? Number three, computer force, computer virus, computer program. Do you think it's computer virus or computer force? Which of these? Computer force or computer virus? Number five, information desk, technology, or house? So do you say information technology or information house? Which of them does not fit the word information? Number six, consumer goods, consumer trade, or consumer awareness? Consumer goods, consumer trade, or consumer awareness? Would you say consumer awareness or consumer trade? Consumer awareness or consumer trade? 7, legal contract, legal space, legal department. Legal contract, legal space, or legal department. 8, IT levels, IT costs, or IT staff. IT levels, IT costs, or IT staff. Which of these words does not typically go well with the word IT? Of course, IT stands for information technology. Do you work in your company's IT department? It's quite an important department to work. 9, research findings, research project, research trade. Research findings, research project, or research trade. Assembly, assembly line, assembly plant, or assembly campaign. What's your answer? Do you have all your answers ready now? Let's check the answers. Company union. Now that's a collocation or a word combo that is not typically used. Combo is a short form for combination, a contraction if you might. Management goods. Now people would say management style, management policy, but never management goods. Number 3, computer force. Of course, people would say computer virus, computer program, but never really say computer force. Business technology. People could say business plan, business card, but not really business technology. What is business technology? Number 5, information house. Of course, people would typically say information desk, information technology, but never really say information house. Consumer trade. What does this even mean? 7, legal space. People would say legal contract, legal department, but never really say legal space. 8, IT levels. Of course, people would typically say IT costs, IT staff, but never really say IT levels. Research trade. Now people might say research findings, research project, but never really research trade. Now the research findings are the things that people discover when they conduct a research, when they carry out a research, the information that you learn or the information that people find out when a research is carried out or conducted will be known as the research findings. Have you recently conducted any research? Has your company conducted any research? What were the findings? That means, what did your company discover? 10, assembly campaign. Now people would typically say assembly line, assembly plant, but never really say assembly campaign. Do you know what an assembly plant is? Well, you have an assembly line within an assembly plant. An assembly plant is a sort of factory where complicated bits of engineering, such as cars, such as television sets, etc., are processed to be assembled to create one product. An assembly line is a piece of technology or production line where a product starts to be made and at the end of the line is completed. We usually have on an assembly line different sets of employees who carry out different activities or put in different touches to make a product complete. The products are assembled. Excellent. Now you've learned what collocations not to use when speaking about organization. And at the same time, you've learned collocations that you could use. Good job. So you could say company logo, management policy or management style, computer virus or computer program, business plan or business card. Do you have a business card? Information desk or information house. Sorry, information desk or information technology. Never say information house. Consumer goods or consumer awareness. Are your consumers very aware? Legal contract, legal department. IT levels? No, but you could say IT costs or IT staff. Research findings or research project. And 10, you can say assembly line or assembly plant. Now let's do some more listening comprehension exercises and we'll return with more grammar and vocabulary exercises. Good job. Okay, editorial team, this wraps up the first exercise and now we return to the videos for listening exercise. In 3, 2, 1, go.
How do you analyze?
Hi. Now we're going to listen some more. Try to understand what the speakers are talking about. This will help you to practice your English listening, to learn how to participate in a business English conversation or in an English business conversation, and altogether learn new collocations, new speaking techniques, and new vocabulary for talking about organization in business. Are you ready? Let's go.
Can you give us an example of how you've helped a company with its organization?
I recently did a major piece of work for a very large global American company that was organized by function. So manufacturing had responsibility for all the plants around the world, marketing ran all the brands in every country. That was a very efficient organization, but it wasn't very good at responding to the local markets, and so they decided that they wanted to move to a geographically based organization. So we had to figure out, first of all, what were the right geographies? Was every country a separate geography, or were we going to put some together? What are you going to do for Europe as a whole, as well as what you're going to do for Germany and for Spain? So we did a lot of look at how the business operated, where products were made, where they were shipped to, how competitors were organized. And we also had to spend a lot of time thinking about whether we needed regional organizations or whether every single business unit would report back to the headquarters in the US.
Excellent. So you just talked about how a company needed to change location or move and finding the right geography to plant or locate the company's organization. Sounds like quite a task. What do you think your company would need to consider if it decided to move or relocate, especially its headquarters? Okay, now let's get into our next exercise. Noun combinations 2. So here, look at the example below. Change phrases 1 to 8 in the same way using numbers where appropriate. Type your answers in the boxes. Look at the example below. Change phrases 1 to 8 in the same way using numbers where appropriate. Type your answers in the boxes. A hotel with 5 stars. Change that, it becomes a 5-star hotel. A 5-star hotel. A hotel with 5 stars is a 5-star hotel. A hotel with 5 stars equals a 5-star hotel. What's the best hotel you've ever been in? Would you say it was a 5-star hotel? Are you ready for the exercise? Let's go. A sales conference that lasts 2 days. A sales conference that lasts 2 days. How would you change this phrase or sentence? What would you say? A 2 days lasting sales conference? Or a 2-day sales conference? A 2-day sales conference or a 2 days lasting sales conference? What do you think? Okay, number 2. A trip that lasts 3 days. A trip that lasts 3 days. How do you say it? A trip of 3 days or a 3-day trip? A trip of 3 days or a 3-day trip? 3. A note worth £10. A note worth £10. Do you say a £10 note or a £10 note? A £10 note or a £10 note? Number 4, a drive of a distance of 30 miles. A drive of a distance of 30 miles. A driving of 30 miles or a 30-mile drive? What's the longest you've ever driven? What's the longest you've ever been on the road? 6, a salary of £100,000. A salary of £100,000. 7, a research project which costs €2 million. A research project which costs €2 million. And 8, a takeover bid worth $4 million. A takeover bid worth $4 million. Let's check. Do you have all your answers ready? Number 1, a sales conference that lasts 2 days. So a 2-day sales conference. A 2-day sales conference. Number 2, a 3-day trip. Number 3, a £10 note. Number 4, a 30-mile drive. Number 5, a 90-minute sales presentation. 6, a £100,000 salary. 7, a €2 million research project. 8, a $4 million takeover bid. A $4 million takeover bid. A €2 million research project. A $4 million takeover bid. Now, what do you observe? You observe that the noun combinations are not pluralized, because in the end, you're speaking about just one. For example, in number 1, we're speaking about just one conference. So the pluralization will not really be on the noun combination, so you do not have to say a 2 days sales conference. The pluralization will be placed rather on the final noun. Bid, project, salary, presentation, drive, note, trip, conference. These are the major nouns of the sentence. So to pluralize would mean having to pluralize the final nouns, such as I just showed you. So you don't have to say a 2 days sales conference, you just say a 2-day sales conference, meaning that the conference lasts for 2 days. In this sense, 2-day, 3-day, £10, 30-mile, 90-minute, £100,000, €2 million, $4 million really function as adjectives. And of course, you do not pluralize your adjectives. You do not say a greens boy or a tall's man. You say a tall man, a green boy. In the same way, you say 2 green apples, not 2 greens apples. Got it? They're adjectives, meaning that they describe the major noun. So a 2-day sales conference could as well be a mega sales conference, a big sales conference, a small sales conference, a short sales conference, a long sales conference. Just as you do not pluralize all these adjectives, you don't have to pluralize these noun constructed or noun-based adjectives. A 2-day sales conference, a 3-day trip, a £10 note, a 30-mile drive, a 90-minute sales presentation, a £100,000 salary, a €2 million research project, a $4 million takeover bid. There you are. Okay, so why use numbers? Well, you use numbers where you have specific measurement points. Numbers are usually measured in, money is usually measured in numeric terms. Distance or miles are usually measured in numeric terms. Trips, the length of trips are usually measured, will usually be expected to be measured in numeric terms. Now, in all these situations where you have nouns that are typically measured in numeric terms, it's all right to use numbers. However, in more spontaneous or more irregular situations, such as how long a conference would last, such as a note worth £10, what if it was worth £30 or £20 or £100? It's not quite necessary to use numbers. You can go ahead and use letters there. 90 minutes, of course, time is typically measured in numeric terms, and so it's okay, in fact, almost expected if you go ahead and represent time in numbers. Whether you choose to use numbers or letters, the most important thing is that you remain consistent. Don't write the beginning of a letter using numbers and finish using words. If you start with numbers, you have to finish with numbers. So stay consistent, whatever your choice is. So now you've learned how to make more noun combinations and how to turn noun combinations into adjectives. This was great, and you've learned so much right now. I can see you smiling, and I bet you feel really smart, because you are. It's the end of this exercise. Now we'll have another listening comprehension task. Are you ready? Let's go. See you in the listening task. Okay, editorial team, you can wrap up this exercise here. We'll go into another listening comprehension now in 3, 2, 1, go.
Tony Page is an independent consultant who teaches, writes about and facilitates change in companies, government and public services around the world. He works with the leaders of large organisations on subjects including strategy, leadership behaviour, culture and organisation development. Tony, how well is InStep dealing with the issue of relocation?
Well, if InStep were Apple or Microsoft or Google, they wouldn't have a problem because their staff would move with them wherever they went in the world. However, in this case, the staff are going to have to choose. Do they like Paris more than they like the company? So far, the company boss is doing one thing that's right, which is asking questions before making up their mind. However, there are several things that are mistakes. Principally, the mistake is they're driving too fast towards the relocation before staff have understood the reasons why or had the opportunity to consider their options. Where this leaves them is in the position of children or victims, and the effect of this afterwards is a reduction in their motivation, a negative attitude, and this of course impacts on the bottom line or the profits of the company.
What typical stages do staff go through in such reorganisations?
Well, whenever a company initiates a major change of this kind, whether it be relocation, merger, or reorganisation, this clearly has an effect on staff that goes beyond their job into the whole of their lives. This means that every individual will take some time to adjust. Beyond that, we know quite a lot about the process of adjustment, and this has been described as the change curve. Initially, for each person, their energy drops. Following this, they go through a series of quite negative emotions, including, first of all, denial, where they say, "This isn't happening to me," to an angry phase, where they're irritated and frustrated and affected by it, through blame, where they say it's someone else's fault, to guilt, where they start to blame themselves, and then to a position of sadness, where they're just unhappy about what's happening, but they have realized that this is real. From this point, when they start to make a decision about which way they go, their optimism and confidence starts to re-emerge. The message for the company here is that you may have made a decision to move, but each individual has to make a choice for themselves before they have adapted, a choice whether to stay in Paris or whether to go to Beauchamp.
What are the risks and opportunities that companies face in such situations?
Well, let's begin with the risk. The risk, of course, is that because staff join a company with certain expectations and something very unexpected comes along like this relocation, that this becomes a massive distraction and it affects motivation, performance, and even whether people are willing to stay with the company. You could lose your talent. When it comes to opportunities, this really is a big opportunity for InStep to clarify the situation they are in, the pressures they experience in terms of cost, in terms of market competitiveness, and if they can achieve out of this a shared understanding in the workforce, as well as a clear decision to move, then they have the possibility that individuals will come to work each day ready and motivated to do what's needed.
Okay. So what did the speaker say about each employee having to feel ready to move? He identified about 4 stages of the employees learning to accept. Can you remember the 4 stages? These are otherwise called the 4 stages of grief, actually. Can you remember those 4 stages? Denial. What's next? What did he say about the denial phase? Is it the phase where the employee decides to think about the situation a lot? Or is it the phase where the employee decides or acts as though this is not really happening, as though the relocation of organization has not really taken place? And what comes after denial? Is it the anger? Well, in the anger phase, the employee begins to become very annoyed at the situation. Acceptance and then sadness follow. These are the 4 stages of grief. Has your company ever relocated? How did you feel about it? Did you have denial? Did you feel angry at some point? Did you accept it? Or were you sad about it? Have you ever had to move because your company's organization changed location? How did this affect you? How does this affect other employees? All right, so it's time for another exercise. It's time for a vocabulary exercise. Are you ready? Let's go. So we're going to be filling blanks here. Company structure 1. Read the comments made in the different areas of organization. Match the areas to the comments. Drag a word from the list to the correct box. Match the areas to the comments. Drag a word from the list, this list, to correct the box. To the correct box, rather. Number 1. I deal with receipt. That means I deal with receiving. So I deal with receipt, storage, and movement of goods. I deal with receipt, storage, and movement of goods. So where are goods typically stored by a company? Is it the service center or the warehouse? What should fill this blank or this box? Is it the service center or the warehouse? Number 2, I'm afraid all the lines are busy just now. All the lines are busy just now. Where could this be said? Is it at the factory or the call center? Is it at the factory or the call center? Number 3, in winter, our production line never operates at full capacity. In winter, our production line never operates at full capacity. Do you remember what a production line is? Well, an assembly line is what we called it in one of the previous exercises. We've got an assembly plant. We talked about an assembly plant, and we talked about an assembly line. So in winter, our production line never operates at full capacity. Would that be at the headquarters or at the factory? Is it headquarters or factory? Number 4, just a moment, please. I'm trying to put you through. Just a moment, please. I'm trying to put you through. Is it the service center or the call center? Was it the service center or the call center? 5, most of the key decisions are made here. Think of the most important office that your company has. It's probably where the CEO goes to work. Most of the key decisions are made here. What's it called? Is it the warehouse or the headquarters? Is it the warehouse or the headquarters? Most of the important decisions are made here. Number 6, this is where we ship repaired equipment back to customers. This is where we ship repaired equipment back to customers. What do you call this? Is it the warehouse? Is it the factory? Or the service center? Is it the warehouse, the factory, or the service center? Repaired equipment are shipped back to consumers or customers. 7, we always make sure that one of us gets back to the customer to ask whether the solution we proposed corrected the problem. We always make sure that one of us gets back to the customer to ask whether the solution we proposed corrected the problem. What is it? Is it the service center or the call center? Is it the service center or the call center? And 8, we are getting ready for the forthcoming board meeting. We're getting ready for the forthcoming board meeting. Is it the headquarters or the service center? Where would the board meeting hold? Where would a board meeting hold? Sounds like where important decisions are made, doesn't it? 9, you need to make sure that high volume items are close to the point of shipping. You need to make sure that high volume items are close to the point of shipping. Is it the warehouse? Is it the service center or the factory? 10, as you can see, the smaller components are put together here. As you can see, the smaller components are put together here. Is it the factory or the warehouse? Do you have all your answers ready? Are you ready to check? Are you ready? Take one last look at your answers. How well do you think you've done? Let's find out. Number 1, I deal with receipt, storage, and movement of goods. That's the warehouse. The warehouse is where your goods are received, stored, and then moved around, either to be distributed to customers or consumers, or to be moved from one office to another. Simply put, the warehouse is where a company stores its items for use later. Number 2, I'm afraid all the lines are busy just now. That's the call center, all the calling lines. See, all the lines are busy just now. Number 3, in winter, our production line never operates at full capacity. That's the factory. See, you have a production line or an assembly line or an assembly plant. So that talks about a factory. See, in winter, our production line never operates at full capacity. Does your company operate at full capacity during winter? Or do you have to wait until after winter to operate at full capacity at your company? Number 4, just a moment, please. I'm trying to put you through. Just a moment, please. I'm trying to put you through. That's the call center. Number 5, most of the key decisions are made here. That's the headquarters. The headquarters is the most important office that a company has. It's the most important location of an organization. Do you work at your company's headquarters? Or are you located at one of the branches or annexes? 6, this is where we ship repaired equipment back to customers. This is where we ship repaired equipment back to customers. That's the service center. 7, we always make sure that one of us gets back to the customer to ask whether the solution we proposed corrected the problem. Service center. Looking at these two explanations or expressions or comments about the service center, what would you say is the most important task of the service center? What does the service center do? And what do people do at the service center? Do they receive customer complaints or customer comments, or do they respond to them? They do both. Okay. 8, we are getting ready for the forthcoming board meeting. That's at the headquarters. The headquarters will most likely be the location for a board meeting. Most companies are run by a board of directors who make important decisions together. 9, you need to make sure that high volume items are close to the point of shipping. That's the warehouse. And 10, as you can see, the smaller components are put together here. Once again, that's the factory. It's where small components are put together to create a whole complete product. Okay, I think you've done pretty well here. I can sense it. How well did you do? So you've got warehouse, call center, factory, call center again, headquarters, service center again, headquarters, warehouse, and factory. Good job. Now you've learned some key words for speaking about organizations or your company's organizational locations and structure. Good job. Now, of course, we'll have another listening exercise to practice your listening comprehension, and we'll move on to another vocabulary exercise. Are you ready to listen? Let's go. Okay, so for the editorial team, we can wrap up here and cut to the next listening exercise. Okay, beginning in 3, 2, 1. Now let's listen. It's an audio this time, so you can follow completely with your ears. Try to understand what the speakers are talking about. Try to learn the words they use and the speaking styles that they use as well.
Unit 4, Organisation, Track 21. 1.
Stock levels have been low for 2 weeks now.
2.
Why do we always have to check with the parent company before making decisions?
3.
Yes, that's fine. If you could just hold on a minute. I'll need to transfer you to a supervisor.
4.
We need to deliver this consignment on Friday.
5.
The production line is operating at full capacity.
6.
The Board of Directors has fixed the annual general meeting for Tuesday the 2nd.
7.
Can you email head office as soon as possible and find out about the designs for the new window displays?
8.
I'm afraid all our engineers are out working on repairs at the moment.
Okay. Now, did you hear all those comments? Now let's listen again as you try to identify what organizational office or organizational department deals with these types of comments. Are you ready?
Unit 4, Organisation, Track 21. 1.
Stock levels have been low for 2 weeks now.
Stock levels have been low for 2 weeks now. Do you think that's something they'd say at the headquarters, at the factory, at the warehouse, at the call center, or the service center? Who do you think might deal with the company's stocks?
2.
Why do we always have to check with the parent company before making decisions.
What's this comment about? Is he commenting about the headquarters or the warehouse? It says the parent company. The parent company. Your parents are your father or your mother, and in this case, what company would serve as a father or mother to other companies?
3.
Yes, that's fine. If you could just hold on a minute. I'll need to transfer you to a supervisor.
Okay. Is that the service center or the call center? I'll need to transfer you. Sounds like something being said on the phone.
4.
We need to deliver this consignment on Friday.
We need to deliver this consignment on Friday. Is that the warehouse or the service center? We need to deliver this consignment. A consignment is a parcel or a package that is supposed to be sent to a specific location.
5.
The production line is operating at full capacity.
Is that the factory or the warehouse? Where do you have the production line?
6.
The Board of Directors has fixed the annual general meeting for Tuesday the 2nd.
Where would the board of directors meet? Would they meet at the factory or the headquarters?
7.
Can you email head office as soon as possible and find out about the designs for the new window displays?
Can you email head office? Head office. What office heads the rest of the company?
8.
I'm afraid all our engineers are out working on repairs at the moment.
Okay. Do you think that's the service center or the call center? I'm sure you had a great time listening and thinking about the comments, especially figuring out where they belong or what they are talking about. Pretty good. Now you've learned and practiced how to use organizational words to talk about organizational structure. Very good. Let's have one more exercise, shall we? Vocabulary. Okay, editorial team, vocabulary exercise beginning in 3, 2, 1, go. Hi. Welcome to the next vocabulary exercise for this lesson. We're still talking about company structure, exercise 2 this time. Complete the sentences, choose the best options to do so. Are you ready? Number 1. We are open to new ideas and methods, and we support change. We are a caring or progressive organization. We are open to new ideas and methods, and we support change. Are we a caring organization or a progressive organization? What do you think? Number 2. I've never met the CEO of the company, and I don't know any of the directors. It's all very impersonal or conservative. What do you think? I've never met the CEO of the company, and I don't know any of the directors. It's all very conservative or very impersonal. Choose your answer. Pick your answer. 3. There's the boss, then the heads of the 4 departments, and then there's us. We are a typical hierarchical company or decentralized company. So there's the boss, then the heads of the 4 departments, and then there's us. We are a typical decentralized company or hierarchical company. 4, our policies are guided by the needs of our customers. We are entirely professional, or we are entirely market-driven. Our policies are guided by the needs of our customers. We are entirely professional or entirely market-driven. 5, their company has a reputation for being slow-moving and dash with lots of paperwork. Bureaucratic or conservative? What's the word for it? When a company makes decisions slowly because there are a lot of people to talk to and a lot of consent to be given. 6, we try to create a motivating environment for our staff and to provide a lot of opportunities for professional development. Our organization really is a decentralized one or caring one. What do you think? 7, our IT department is constantly changing, growing, developing. I believe it's the most dynamic department in the company or the most market-driven department in the company. Is it dynamic or market-driven? It changes, grows, and develops a lot. What's the word for that? Is it dynamic or market-driven? 8, we involve a large number of employees in the decision-making process because we believe that a dash management style increases motivation and eventually gets better results. A democratic management style or decentralized management style. We involve a large number of employees in the decision-making process because we believe that a democratic management style increases motivation, or a decentralized management style increases motivation. Are you ready with your answers? Let's check. We are open to new ideas and methods, and we support change. We are a progressive organization. That's the meaning of the word progressive. It means being open to new ideas and being welcoming or accepting to change. Number 2, I've never met the CEO of the company. I don't know any of the directors. It's all very impersonal. That means you do not feel a personal connection with the CEO because you've never met him, and you don't know any of the directors in person. So it's impersonal. M here serves as a negative marker, meaning the opposite of personal. 3, there's the boss, then the heads of the 4 departments, and then there's us. We are a typical hierarchical company. That means there is a chain, a ladder to follow. A hierarchical company. 4, our policies are guided by the needs of our customers. We are entirely market-driven. Remember, the market refers to the body of consumers or customers that a company reaches with its products, goods, or services. 5, their company has a reputation for being slow-moving and bureaucratic. Now that's the word. To be bureaucratic means to spend a lot of time making decisions because a lot of paperwork and a lot of decisions have to be made before an actual decision is made. Is your company a bureaucratic one? 6, we try to create a motivating environment for our staff and to provide a lot of opportunities for professional development. Our organization really is a caring one. Okay, so when a company does all these things for their staff and employees, it can be said to be a caring company. Our IT department, 7, our IT department is constantly changing, growing, developing. I believe it's the most dynamic department in company. Dynamic means capable of a lot of change and very interesting. 8, we involve a large number of employees in the decision-making process because we believe that a democratic management style increases motivation and eventually gets better results. Of course, democracy is a management style of numbers and majority. So the employees decide in large numbers what they prefer. Very good. Now you've learned more words and speaking styles for talking about organizational structure or company structure, using words like progressive, impersonal, hierarchical, market-driven, bureaucratic, caring, dynamic, and democratic. Very good. So that's it for our lesson today. That's it for our lesson in Unit 4. I'll see you next time in the next lesson. See you in the next lesson, the next unit. I'm Tim, your business English trainer.